Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers was last seen on February 26, 2024, in the area of Stafford Court in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He was wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and black square-framed glasses. Sebastian has medical conditions, including autism, that may impair his ability to return safely without assistance. If you have any information concerning the whereabouts of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, please contact the Sumner County Sheriff's Office at 615-451-3838 or the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-TBI-FIND or tips.tbi.tn.gov or tips.fbi.gov Field Office, Memphis. The message has been lost, as well as Sebastian Rogers.
Everybody, a welcome in. I have a lot to say, and it's been a while. Let's discuss all of this BS surrounding Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. And with that, let's get into it. Before I forget, because I know that I heard this and I am not crazy. Well, maybe a little crazy. During one of the interviews with Katie at Proudfoot, she mentioned that his cell phone was there, his shoes were there, but she couldn't find the little keychain flashlight. She also said in an interview that that flashlight was broken. Who remembers that, and which interview was that? If you do remember, please drop it below in the comments. For those who have been following Sebastian's story, we know that there are a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation, a lot of conspiracy theories, but that's okay. Everyone is allowed to have their opinion. But let's touch on the facts of Sebastian's timeline from when he went missing. It's really sad when the message has completely been lost. We are looking for a 16-year-old autistic boy from Hendersonville, Tennessee. All of the other BS is just for clout and donos. Some people should be absolutely disgusted with themselves.
Search for 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers began. The team is reported missing from his home in Hendersonville. He hasn't been seen since. Jaxie Pigeon is live now with how people are pitching in to help find Sebastian.
Well, Nikki, for the first 2.5 weeks, first responders searched about 2,000 miles trying to locate Sebastian, but they found no sign of him. Now, that's when they decided to scale back those efforts, but the TBI emphasized that does not mean they're giving up on the Sumner County teen. They say much of the work currently being done to bring him home may not necessarily be public or visible.
Wait, did you hear what she said? Of course. We probably do not know a quarter of what the Ellie knows.
They say much of the work currently being done to bring him home may not necessarily be public or visible. There is still an active Amber Alert for Sebastian, who has autism. The United Cajun Navy has since deployed resources in Sumner County to help locate Sebastian. As of right now, the Disaster Response Organization is working independently of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. They used Monday to form a game plan where people in the community could participate in that search. Any volunteers can visit the United Cajun Navy's search headquarters at 90 Volunteer Drive at 10 o'clock this morning for a safety briefing. That is in Hendersonville. You can help them out by bringing water bottles, sports drinks, and snacks. Now, Sumner County Commissioner Don Schmidt spoke out during last night's commission meeting. He emphasizes the importance of not letting Sebastian's case fall through the cracks.
I think a lot of us thought, well, he just wandered off, he's going to come back. So I made some notes because I'll be honest with you, this is like really, it's tugged on my heartstrings. I lost sleep over it because I have a son that's the same age as Sebastian. Our law enforcement from the Sheriff's Department has done a great job. I went to the command center. They want Sebastian found probably more than parents at some, if that makes sense. They're invested in this.
Now, we reached out to the TBI for comment. They say they have no update at this time. However, they encourage everyone to keep checking their surveillance cameras and their properties for any evidence of Sebastian Rogers.
This article is an older article. It was updated April 2nd, 2024, but I just want to discuss the timeline and the facts. And most of you, I'm sure, heard the dispatch calls when they went out looking for Sebastian Monday, February 26th, 2024. At 11:17 a.m. on February 26th, the TBI issued an endangered a child alert on behalf of Sumner County. They go on, he was described as wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and glasses. Close to a dozen agencies, including the TBI and Nashville Fire Department, City of Hendersonville's first responders, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, and Shackle Island, a volunteer, a fire, all began searching for the teen on Monday, February 26, 2024. There were over 200 searchers on the ground that day with multiple K-9 teams, mounted units, helicopter crews, and even drones being deployed. We also do not know what time this happened. We know what time we last saw Sebastian on surveillance camera, and supposedly Sebastian did make it home because he was seen taking out the trash. But from that point until 6 o'clock in the morning the next day, none of us know what happened, but Sebastian and whoever took him, whoever he went to meet, allegedly, that we don't know. But boy, are there a lot of speculations. Real quick, let's jump back to February 25th, Sunday night. Sebastian goes to bed at 9 o'clock. Katie's on the couch. She has that 3-hour phone call with Chris, which I find to be a long phone call. But if they spoke on the phone that long, all the time, we know that Ellie knows because the phone records have definitely been subpoenaed, in my opinion. We also know about the thud at 10 p.m. Katie says, Bubba, go to bed. Did that thud happen? I don't know. The only person that really knows is Katie and Sebastian is not here. So Chris on the phone 3 hours until midnight. It tells Katie to go to bed. Katie goes up to bed. Chris goes to sleep, allegedly. And he's on the phone till midnight and back on the crane, 4 hours later? But we do know Chris was at work. So that takes Chris out of the picture the night of February 25th, 2024. We get into Monday morning, February 26th, 2024. Katie goes to look for Sebastian, wake him up for school, and he just vanished into thin air. I am going to play just a tiny part of the beginning of the dispatch call when the officers arrived at the Proudfoots house around the time of 6 a.m. in the morning. But still, we really don't know what happened to Sebastian after he took the garbage out, because supposedly the LE has confirmed that that was Sebastian taking the garbage out. I also remember Seth saying that he could tell it was Sebastian due to his quirks. But then I heard Seth say that it was dark. Let's listen.
1008 Capricorn Hendersonville. Caller advised of a 15-year-old male not in the bed. We have white male, 3 blonde hair, approximately 5 foot, 120 pounds. I was going to be wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants. 2 male does have a form of autism. This is the first time it happened. I was going to be in the home before midnight. The doors are locked at this time.
10-4 Monroe.
Control to you, 47-180, 412. 2 male. left his son at the house. The mother is driving around looking for him in the Victoria Place subdivision, and she is driving a baby blue Infiniti.
Let's get there and see what's going on. Go on, search the residence. We'll go from there.
We also know allegedly that Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers, was working that night and did not get off work till 7 a.m. And I believe that's when he headed to Hendersonville. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's what, an hour away? If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. Let's jump into the speculations and the players involved with the different speculating scenarios. I will say this that this case is probably one of the most difficult ones to watch on YouTube and listen to other creators' opinion. You're either on Seth's side or you're on Chris and Katie's side. The line has been drawn. If you think Katie did it or Chris, Seth's side loves you. If you think Seth did it or did something or kidnapped him and hit him, Katie and Chris's side loves them. Honestly, how fucked up is that? Because the only side I am on is for Sebastian to be found and some of these ridiculous conspiracy theories to stop. Let's talk about some of these crazy scenarios that I find crazy. Scenario one of the latest that I have heard is that maybe Seth had Sebastian hide out, and sometime while he went there to talk to Katie and Chris and LE and find out where his son was, he hit him, took him somewhere, and he is in hiding, being fed, and somehow this has not been found out or got leaked. Let's think about that logically. So Seth plans this kidnapping of his own son, which Sebastian's gone by 6 a.m. Seth works till 7. So if Sebastian was hiding out in the woods or waiting for his father barefoot with no phone for 2 hours, by this time law enforcement has surrounded the neighborhood and they have began to look for Sebastian. You mean to tell me that they would not have found him? And then how was his father going to know where he was with no phone? And then he's going to go meet his father with no shoes on? I mean, who honestly believes that? Unless somebody else went to pick up Sebastian. We would have seen a car on surveillance. If you believe that, comment below. Me personally, I do not think that that could be pulled off, especially with all the media involved and Seth's connections with the YouTubers. A T-Rev a 747 going to his house, T-Rev's new girlfriend hanging out with Seth. There would have to be a lot of people involved, and I think one of those people would have spoken out by now, especially with the reward. And what about Sebastian's medications? Where would they be coming from? But Dog the Bounty Hunter, him, I am not going to talk about. Scenario 2, another newer one, that the neighbor Bobby, his son, somehow lured Sebastian out to play flashlight tag and something happened. I do not believe that. I did not believe that for a second. And actually, I find that kind of ludicrous because if that was the case, Ellie would have definitely have figured that out by now. People do not realize how much a CCTV footage there probably is in Sebastian's case. If you think that Bobby or one of her children had something to do with it, even if it was accidental and covered it up, let me know in the comments. And me personally, I think Bobby is just one of those nosy neighbors. Scenario 3, Sebastian ran away. He climbed out of the window or walked out the front door and just vanished into the night, and he has not been seen since. And he did this with no jacket, no shoes, and no cell phone. In February, you know it was chilly, and from what Seth said, he didn't like getting his feet dirty. Does that make any sense? And then we're going to go back and listen to what Chris Proudfoot said regarding Sebastian leaving the house that night. A scenario of 4. He met a predator online and he was lured out of his house and he has never been heard from again. It just vanished. Do you believe that he was lured out by a predator that he met online? And if so, that the police have not completely scrubbed the gaming systems and that there would have been some type of connection or communication of who Sebastian was talking to? I don't agree with that scenario myself, but if you do, please tell me about it in the comments. What really bothers me regarding Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers going missing is the war that is going on between creators on every platform. If somebody has a difference of opinion, why is there so much hate, defamation, lawsuits, RICOs? That is not true crime. That is not us trying to find a Sebastian. That is a drama. And in my opinion, a lot of stuff leads up to maybe what happened to Sebastian. But is that going to find Sebastian? Absolutely not. We have all watched millions of crime shows, the true crime community. We have followed many cases, and it always turns in to sides. I'm on Sebastian's side and what happened to him. Let's get into a couple news clips with Chris and Katie Proudfoot.
Says her hope is strong that her son Sebastian will be found safe and return home.
He's gonna walk through that door and this street will be flooded again with family and relatives all waiting to hug him, love him.
Stepdad Chris says it's been an emotional roller coaster that all started Sunday night, February 25th.
Pretty normal. He was playing in his room. When I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, "Good night, Mom, I love you." And he's not a runner. He's never run away before. I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out the door.
I mean, he's a good kid. He's not a mischievous child by any means.
We've been combing over that day and even the weeks before he left, and I haven't been able to figure it out. He's, that morning he was laughing, he was joking.
You're not in this situation. You don't quite understand. I wish people would step back, take a different wide open view, and not assume what they know. It's just better to stick to the facts. Mom, myself, and the father have worked very fully and cooperatively with all agencies across the board. We have anything that they've wanted, we have provided.
That we love you so much, and we want you to come home, and you're not in trouble.
That part always stuck out to me, that she is shaking her head no while she is telling him, "We want you to come home. You're not in trouble." Let's get into their second interview.
Although he doesn't like to be dirty, it's kind of funny because he also doesn't have awareness, because if you look, he's got chocolate milk on his face because he didn't wipe it off at breakfast. It's funny like that.
Sunday, the day before he went missing, we got up and, fun fact, I made breakfast that morning. We had a good time. We were laughing, we were joking. He talked to family on the phone during breakfast to brag. We went and picked up our niece. I got a call and asked if I could go and pick her up, and I did. And so we went and did that. We went to BJ's, had a good time there. He ate a colossal popcorn. Came home to put groceries away because we bought snacks because, he's 15 and snacks. We went to the bowling alley, and then from there we went to dinner. Came home. He took out the trash because that's his chore. He takes the can to the end of the driveway. About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed. And he's come out of his room where he was playing, and he said, "All right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. I love you." And went to bed. He was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise, and I was like, "I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep." And about midnight I got up and I went to bed. And 6 o'clock I went to wake him up for school Monday morning, and that's when he went in here. To censor myself, holy freaking crap, this can't be happening. Where is my kid? Choice words were used. Like, you know, where the F is he? I looked through the house for him because it was typical for him to get up and come and rummage for snacks and things like that. And he likes to dip behind the, walls and watch, and then he comes out after I come back and he likes to scare me. But after I looked, and I mean, mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat. But I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over. I ran through the whole house. I looked out all the doors and windows, and I was like hollering his name. And I picked up the phone and I called my husband, and I said, "I can't find him." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "He's not in this effing house. I can't find our son." And I jumped in my car and I drove around the neighborhood, and I drove over by the school, and he's already, like, at this point I was like hysterical, and I was crying, I was screaming, and he was three-wayed law enforcement, and was telling them, like, our son is missing and we don't know what's going on. And he was like, "Go back to the house, they're on their way." And I drove back to the house, and
he's not a child that wanders. He's not one that is
he doesn't have a history of being an eloper, which is common. And I have friends with children on the spectrum who do struggle with elopement with their children, but no, Sebastian, that's one thing, has always been a blessing. He's not been an eloper or a runner. His primary areas are like social and emotional dysregulation issues and things like that. But he's very smart, he's functional. Overall, he's a pretty happy kid. I mean, he's a teenager, he's coming into his hormones, he's angry that he's growing a mustache, but for the most part, he's a happy kid. And that you think?
What I can tell you is, with all law enforcement, with everybody that's involved, there's nothing that's been eliminated. Everything is on the table. Everything is being looked at from every possible aspect.
Everything from he got out and walked away and was outside of the search radius before we started searching to the worst.
Yeah. And that's currently where we're at. I mean, it's...
Yeah. Really trying not to go down that road because we're gonna find him.
Speculating causes problems. Assumptions cause issues. And based on facts and what everybody knows, right now, there's nothing, and everything is still on the table to be looked at.
I just know he's out there somewhere.
So, there's a lot of speculations about that video that are floating on the internet, okay? And that is exactly what it is, it's speculations. Now, what I can give you an official statement on is TBI Newslink has released a statement from law enforcement, between local law enforcement, state law enforcement, some federal law enforcement, and they have analyzed that video so many times over that everything that everybody is trying to assume is a flashlight, I hate to say this, it's not. As much as we would love it to be one, it's not. I'm not going to go into details as far as where that video is shot from, but I can tell you, as the parents, we have seen the video firsthand from law enforcement. We know exactly where it was taken from, and nothing that is being assumed right now is actually true about that video, unfortunately.
Okay.
And anything about any other videos or anything like that, please refer to the TBI news link that they have out there, the updated Amber Alert stuff, and it will give you the most up-to-date information that all law enforcement has, and they will give you current as far as what's what and how they're looking at things.
And if there's any new video, forward it to them.
Please.
That's
around this neighborhood and this whole community. I mean, I can tell you that much here. When it comes to the cameras, there has not been one person that has said no. And trust me, it is greatly felt that everybody has been so open and so helpful in pushing out any which way they can. I mean, there's been some families that have actually been on vacation that weren't home, and they got permission from that family to take a look at their cameras and go in their houses without them even being present, which has been amazing. So, but yeah.
Oh, God. That if you can see this or hear this, that we just want you home, baby, and we love you. And there ain't nothing that'll stop us from coming and getting you and bringing you home.
Please excuse me my questions. I'm simply trying to find out more about that night. Do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
He wasn't actually in the home at all that weekend.
You were not home?
No.
Okay, so where were you, Mr. Proudfoot?
I was in Memphis, Tennessee.
How far away is that?
3 hours and 37 minutes from doorstep to doorstep.
Where is your room as it relates to Sebastian's room?
It's on the opposite end of the house. The master bedroom's on one side and the other two bedrooms are on the other side of the house.
Okay, so your master bedroom is on one side of the house and Sebastian's room is on the other side of the house. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Have the two of you taken a polygraph?
I have.
I have not.
Would you be willing to?
I've offered and volunteered on many occasions to take a polygraph, and I was told directly by law enforcement because of my whereabouts, I did not need one.
I understand. Miss Proudfoot, did you pass your polygraph?
I did.
That night, Miss Proudfoot, at midnight when you went to bed, what did you do until midnight?
I had been reading a chapter that I needed to, and I had been talking to my husband on the phone. I was falling asleep on him, so that's when he told me it was around midnight. He told me to go ahead and put the dogs up and go to bed. And that's what I did. I got up, put the dogs where they sleep, and then I myself went to bed.
Inside. That reminds me of another question. Do you guys have a motion sensor light or lights on the outside of your house?
Yes, we do have lights on the outside of our house.
Did they activate that night?
They're not motion censored. We have lights.
Were they on that night?
No.
Okay. Were they on that night? So the lights were out the whole night?
Yes, ma'am. We don't typically turn the floodlights on.
Were there any lights outside the house on at all?
Just my little solar lights that we have in the garden.
There's two lights on the side of the house above the garage that are on at all times.
Oh yeah, those are on.
Oh, there's a light above the garage that's on at all times?
There's two, yes ma'am.
A video of the two flashlights, and I'm saying that in air quotes, that's not exactly what that was at all. We now don't believe that two flashlights were observed around your home. Is that correct?
Yes. You're very correct.
Okay. So your Infiniti SUV was parked in the garage or outside the garage that night, Ms. Proudfoot?
In the garage.
In the garage. And Mr. Proudfoot, your vehicle was on location in Memphis, is that correct?
Correct.
In the garage. Do you have an automatic garage door?
With the clicker.
Right. Do you leave that up or down at night?
Down.
Could anybody lift it up? Like, is there an on and off button outside, or do you have to know a code or have the clicker to open it?
You'd have to know the code or have the clicker.
Does Sebastian know the code?
Not to the garage door, but to the man doors.
So is there a code to get in your home, or do you use a regular key?
There's a code.
And he knows that code?
Yes, ma'am.
Question, I'm just trying to figure out how he would have gotten out or if somebody came into the home. Could they have gotten through the garage door? No, unless they know the code or had the clicker, which they did not. Do you lock your doors at night?
Yes, ma'am.
Could he have left on his own through those doors?
He could, yes, ma'am.
So that night you go to bed at midnight after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone, you put the dogs away in a cage, a crate, inside the home, and you go to bed. Did you check on Sebastian at that time?
I did not.
Earlier you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around 10 o'clock.
10 p.m. What did it sound like?
Just a thud.
A thud. You stated that you said, look, I don't care what you're doing in there, go to bed. Is that right?
I was on the couch, which is near his room, and I said, Bubba, did you fall out of the bed? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said, well, whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep.
If he were to go out his window, what would he step on?
Mulch and bushes.
Did you say mulch or mush?
Mulch.
Mulch.
Mulch. Okay, got it. Has he ever gone out the window before?
No, ma'am.
Is his room on the front of the house or the back of the house?
Front.
Front. Do any of your neighbors' ring cams point toward your house? Could they pick that up?
They do, but it's so dark that they can only see, after it gets so dark at night, they can only see certain things where there's light.
I thought there were the two lights on.
On the opposite side of the house.
Okay, can we talk about Sebastian's shoes? Why are you convinced Sebastian left without shoes on? Or are you?
Well, the reason that came about is because all of his shoes are accounted for inside the house still.
Are you positive?
I'm positive.
How do you know what clothes he was wearing?
The clothes that we described are the ones I saw him in when he went to bed.
I've got a question for you.
Yes,
I want to find out about Mr. Proudfoot hitting Sebastian with a belt. What happened?
That was actually several years ago, and it
To
was
Mr. Proudfoot, to Mr. Proudfoot, to Mr. Proudfoot. Mr. Proudfoot, what happened?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood how you were asking, Katie. Sebastian got in trouble. He got caught lying. And I had asked him, said, hey, you got to have a punishment for this. He said, yes, sir. I said, okay. So I gave him a swat with a belt. on his buttocks on the outside of his clothes on spot.
What is your theory about where is Sebastian?
I wish I knew where he was, to be honest.
Your theory.
I think it's possible that someone has my son.
Why?
Because I feel like if he had been close to the house or had walked off, that we would have found him by now with as many people as we had searching.
Have you checked his social media?
He doesn't have social media.
Have you checked his phone?
His phone has been thoroughly checked, yes, ma'am.
Have you handed your phones to police, both of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Has police searched all of your devices, your laptop, your iPad, everything?
Everything, yes, ma'am.
So those were just the 3 videos that Katie and Chris Proudfoot did in the beginning. And I just wanted to play what I found in those interviews to be important regarding Sebastian Rogers going missing. And it's interesting what Katie says on Nancy Grace regarding the timeline and the setup of the house and the lights. Let's go on a little road trip and check out where the house is, which most of us know, where these supposed flashlights are, and Sebastian's window. Because Katie said she was on the couch, which is by Sebastian's bedroom, and she went to bed at 12 o'clock. So my guess is that Sebastian was definitely still in the house at 12. Or was he somewhere else in the house? Something happened to Sebastian. He did not just walk into the night and vanish. Me personally, I do not think that Sebastian left that house through a door. But that's my opinion. And I know that people are going to be upset. But remember, I do not care for the Proudfoots and I do not care for Seth. So after listening to all of the interviews regarding the setup of the house, we know that Sebastian's window is on the far right. On this side is where they have the garage, and like Chris said, the lights are on all the time. So if he came out of his window, he would go onto the bushes and the mulch, and you would think that would be somehow disturbed. Here's the side, the lights that are constantly on, and we also know that the neighbor said that she saw Sebastian's light go on. I'm pretty sure it might have been midnight. And if the bedroom light went on and that was when he was going to crawl out of the window or leave and go out the front door, Katie was still on the couch. And with the light, like Katie said, they would have seen Sebastian going out the window. This video is definitely long, so let me give my final thoughts and we will wrap it up. I definitely have the difference of opinion when it comes to what happens to Sebastian. After I've watched and I've read and I've seen every interview and Seth and Tony and just the complete shit show that's been going on, I never thought the day that Sebastian went missing was a coincidence to the day that Katie Proudfoot filed for divorce. And I know that people are going to not like what I'm going to say, but the main question I have that will put all of this together for me in my mind is how many days did it take for LE to go to the Proudfoots and completely search that house with the dogs and so forth? I heard it was 3 days. If that is the case, that is not good. And that is the time, in my opinion, that Sebastian was taken to wherever it is he may be. I believe that Katie did something to Sebastian, maybe to break all ties with Seth, that I do not know. But between the flashlights and the people out across the street and Chris debunking that, saying that Ellie told them they are not flashlights, this case is definitely one big conspiracy theory by many. I also found it a very bizarre when Katie was on the interview with Chronicles of Olivia, and it wasn't even a minute, and she said, quote, "This can't be happening to me. Where is my kid?" Why would you be so panicked 1 minute, 2 minutes into not finding him when you tell us that he loves to hide? She also said that confirmed Seth's story is that he does not like getting dirty. The reason I do not think Seth has Sebastian hidden out, it's almost been a year. That's a little long. As far as him being served, I don't give two shits about that. I think Seth has a big mouth. He talks too much, and I think he would have flapped his gums or somehow by now came out with he found his son. It's just been a little bit too long, in my opinion. I do want to hear from you. I am going to touch on the comments, and soon we will be going live, and that is a promise. Everyone, I am trying to build back up my channel. I have memberships for 99 cents. If you wish to join, that would be greatly appreciated to supporting the channel. But with that, guys, it is a wrap. Everybody, thank you for coming in. Please make sure you click that like and subscribe, the bell for notifications, so you do not miss the next time we drop a video, and get back on with the lives. Everybody, have a good day or a good night wherever you are in the world, and stay vigilant. I am out.